I didn't notice the exact moment the ground beneath my life started to crack. Looking back now, it wasn't a bang or a scream that started it. It was the click of a bathroom door locking too quickly, the flick of a lighter when no candles were lit, the pause in a sentence she used to finish without thinking. Small, precise fractures that, one by one, split the surface. That Thursday started as any other. The air felt unusually still, almost fake. Like someone had paused the scene I was living in. I was in my car, sitting outside the house, and I don't know why I didn't go inside right away. Maybe it was the way the curtains shifted, like someone had just moved. Maybe it was instinct, that sixth sense nobody talks about until it's too late. I sat there for 10 minutes. No music, no scrolling, just watching our home like it didn't belong to me anymore. At exactly 4:17 p.m., a black sedan pulled up across the street. He didn't park like a guest. He parked like a routine. Window halfway down, arm resting casually, engine off. I'd never seen him before, but he didn't look around like he was unfamiliar. He looked up at the house, directly at the bedroom window. And then, I swear to whatever you want to believe in, he smiled. My pulse tightened. I got out of the car and walked across the street. Not to confront him. Not yet. Just to look at him. I wanted to see the face of someone who felt that comfortable outside my house, on a weekday afternoon, staring at the second floor. He noticed me coming and rolled his window down another notch. Cool, confident. I asked if he was looking for someone. He said, "No, just waiting. Waiting. No name. No explanation. No apology. Just waiting." I didn't answer. I turned and walked straight into the house. The door wasn't locked. Shoes by the door that weren't mine. Expensive ones. Not her style either. No voices, no noise. Just silence that carried something inside it. Like the air was hiding a secret. I moved upstairs fast. This time not caring how loud my steps were. Something in my chest was pounding against my ribs like it wanted out. I opened the bedroom door. Empty. I walked past the bed. Something wasn't right. The sheets were stretched tight, too tight, like someone had just fixed them in a hurry. There was a scent in the room. Faint, not perfume. Something sharper, unfamiliar. I turned to leave, and that's when I heard the click. Bathroom door. Closed, not locked. Quiet shuffle inside. I opened it without knocking. She was standing at the mirror. Face flushed. Breathing too calm for someone who had nothing to hide. Shirt tucked in awkwardly, earrings missing. Her eyes met mine in the mirror and she didn't flinch. Not even a flicker of surprise. Just a slow, practiced turn. "What?" she asked, like I was intruding. I asked her who he was. She didn't even blink. Said, "Who?" I told her there was a man outside. She shrugged. People wait outside all the time. Like this was a hotel lobby. Like I was the receptionist interrupting her break. I asked again. This time I stepped closer. Her jaw tightened, just for a second, and then she smiled, crooked and slow. "You're being dramatic. Not you're wrong. Not I don't know him. Just that." I asked her if he'd been here before. "Does it matter?" she said. "You're never home anyway." That's when it hit me. She wasn't denying it. She wasn't even trying. She was throwing it back at me, rewriting the narrative right in front of my face. I told her I saw the look he gave the window. She laughed. Actually laughed. And said, "So now you're spying from the street?" I wish I could say I shouted. I wish I slammed a door. But all I did was stare at her. At the version of her I hadn't seen before. Sharp edges I'd mistaken for stress. Coldness I'd explained away as tiredness. She walked past me. Slow, controlled. Not a single apology in her eyes. "Grow up," she said as she brushed my shoulder. I followed her downstairs. She grabbed her keys like this was just another day. No rush, no guilt. Like she was going to brunch and not walking out of the middle of our life. At the door, she turned around and added, "Maybe if you paid as much attention to me as you do to strangers in cars, we wouldn't be here." Then she left. Didn't slam the door. Didn't say goodbye. And across the street, the sedan was gone. But the echo of that laugh, sharp, dismissive, like I was the butt of an inside joke, stayed in the house longer than she did. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was spiraling or crying or trashing the place like some broken movie cliché. I just sat there, in the living room, on the edge of the couch, with the TV off, the lights off, and that laugh still circling my head like a vulture. At exactly 2:03 a.m., I opened her laptop. It was a move I never thought I'd make. Not because I was above it, but because some part of me always assumed I wouldn't need to. We'd built this weird little fortress of assumed trust over the years, throwing around lines like, if you ever even looked at someone else, I'd know. Turns out you don't know. Not until the dirt's already in your mouth. She hadn't logged out of anything. I didn't even have to guess the password. The first tab was her email. Nothing suspicious. Coupons. Store reminders. Normal stuff. But the second tab, the second one, was open to a private folder in her cloud drive. Inside, 46 photos. Not of them together. Not the kind you might expect. They were pictures of hotel rooms. Random. Generic. Time-stamped. Some were selfies, her reflection in a mirror. Her legs stretched out on beds that weren't ours. Dim lighting, different sheets. A wine glass balanced on a side table. In one, a hand was visible at the edge of the frame. Not hers. Not mine. What gutted me wasn't the images. It was the dates. They weren't from last week. Or last month. They stretched back. 8 months. Maybe more. I scrolled through, hollow. Room after room. Pose after pose. She wasn't hiding from me. She was archiving it. Like she wanted to remember. I clicked on one of the images. It had a geotag. A boutique hotel downtown. I'd booked us a night there once, years ago, after a fight. I remembered the brick walls and the view. I remembered how she said it was her favorite place. She had taken him there. And that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was the folder name. Good Times. That folder hit like a brick to the chest. Not work stuff. Not receipts. Not even a fake name to cover her tracks. Just good times. Like none of this was complicated for her. Like none of it hurt. At 3:14 a.m., I closed the laptop. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't punch a wall. I did something worse. I understood. I understood that the woman upstairs, sleeping in our bed, wasn't confused or tempted or led astray. She wasn't sorry. She was structured, clean, deliberate. She had routines, favorites, a system. She had made me an afterthought and then called it normal. When I went upstairs, the house felt haunted. Not by ghosts, but by the weight of someone still breathing. She was in bed, curled on her side, the way she always did when she didn't want to talk. Eyes shut, breathing steady, or pretending. I didn't speak. I didn't touch her. I sat in the corner of the room in the old chair by the window, watching the sky shift from black to deep purple. She turned over once, halfway, maybe checking if I was there. I didn't move. Around 5:07, she got up, walked past me to the bathroom, and closed the door with the same smooth, soft click she'd used the day before. I didn't ask where she was going. She didn't offer it. She left by 6 o'clock, and by 6:01, I wasn't heartbroken anymore. I was planning. The first thing I did was cancel the weekend trip. I had spent 3 weeks planning it. Reserved the exact cabin she'd sent me on Instagram. Twice, actually, because she forgot she already shared it. Paid in full. Left little notes on my phone about what to pack for her. Printed out directions even though we both used GPS, because she liked physical maps. All of that, gone in 30 seconds. One phone call. No refund. I didn't even care. By 7 a.m., I was sitting at the kitchen table with a pen and a yellow legal pad. I'm not the kind of guy who journals, but something about seeing it written down made it real. I needed to pull the chaos out of my head and pin it to paper like dissecting a bug under glass. I wrote a timeline. Not out of spite, out of survival. First date I could confirm. The hotel geotag from 8 months ago. Then the photos cross-referenced with our shared calendar. The ones taken the same weekend she told me she was spending time with her sister after the breakup. The photos from the same hotel I took her to. I remembered thinking it was strange how affectionate she was when she got home that night. She brought takeout and wanted to cuddle. Now I know why. It wasn't affection. It was guilt. Or worse, it was satisfaction. By 9:30, I had a second column, conversations. I started remembering things. Things I hadn't questioned. Like when she asked, "Do you think people are meant to be with just one person forever?" While we were folding laundry. Like when she'd started calling me by nicknames she never used before. Ones she might have picked up elsewhere. Like how she suddenly stopped asking where I was going when I left the house. That stopped 5 months ago. As if my presence wasn't relevant anymore. As if she'd outsourced her attention. Around 10 o'clock, I did something I'm not proud of, but I don't regret. I messaged Ethan. Not to accuse. Not yet. I just sent, "Hey, when was the last time you were over here?" He replied in 2 minutes. "Last month, I think." "Why?" "Not true. He was over 3 weeks ago helping me fix the fence." But that's not what I cared about. I sent a picture of the belt. The one I found under the bed. No caption. He didn't answer for a full hour. Then, "I don't know what that is." For minutes later, "Why are you sending me this?" I didn't reply. I just left it hanging there. Like a loaded silence in a courtroom. He knew. And he knew I knew. And that was enough for now. At noon, I got a message from her. Just a photo. A smoothie. Purple. Her favorite place. Tried the new mango dragon fruit one. Insane. No, how's your day? No mention of last night. No explanation. Just a drink. A casual update like we were still playing house. That did it. That's when the switch flipped. She wasn't trying to gaslight me. She was doing something worse. Pretending there was nothing to address. No elephant in the room. No body under the floorboards. Just a smoothie. So I played along. Nice. Looks good. She sent a heart emoji. I smiled. Genuinely. Because now I knew this wasn't a confrontation. This was a countdown. The next day I started the game. I woke up before her, made coffee, left her favorite mug by the sink. Her initials painted on the side, chipped just enough to look loved. I didn't say much. I didn't need to. The silence between us had changed its shape. It wasn't heavy anymore. It was sharp, controlled. She noticed. She walked in wearing the robe I bought her last Christmas. The one she once said made her feel soft. Whatever that meant. She yawned like nothing was broken. Like we were two actors still committed to the lie of the script. "Morning," she said, checking her phone before she looked at me. "Sleep well?" I asked, watching her fingers twitch on the screen. She paused, smiled. "Eventually." I wondered what eventually meant. If it meant after texting him goodnight or after deleting the photos I didn't find yet. She took a sip of coffee. "You're quiet lately." I nodded. "Just tired." She nodded back, as if that answer was complete. Later that day, I called my older sister, Margot. We hadn't been close in years, not from conflict, just time and distance. But she's the type of person who can smell a lie through a phone. I told her I needed a favor. Not money, not therapy, just space. I asked if I could stay with her for a few days, starting soon but not just yet. She didn't ask questions. Just said, "Whenever you're ready." That night I brought home takeout. From the Italian place she loved. Her order even. Pasta with too much cream and garlic knots she always said she'd only eat one of but never did. She looked at the bag like it was an apology. I set it on the table, grabbed 2 forks and said, "Thought we could eat together tonight." She stared at me, head slightly tilted. "Are you okay?" "Why wouldn't I be?" She didn't answer. Just unwrapped her food like she was dissecting a gift she didn't trust. Halfway through the meal, I asked, "Do you still talk to Ethan?" Her fork paused midair. "Sometimes," she said. "Why?" "No reason." I lied. "Just wondering." She chewed slowly, swallowed, and then smiled. Tight-lipped, not warm. "You're being weird." That night, she went to bed first. Left her phone on the nightstand. Screen up. Charging. The password hadn't changed. I waited until she was asleep, then checked the texts. He wasn't saved under his name. He was saved as C. The last message was from her. "Can't tonight. He's around. Call you tomorrow." No kisses. No flirty words. Just transactional. Like I was an obstacle. A schedule to be worked around. I took a screenshot. Sent it to my own phone. And then I scrolled further. 2 weeks ago. "You were amazing today." 3 days ago. "Still thinking about the way you grabbed me." And then the worst one. Buried a bit further back. "Sometimes I wish I could just stay with you and forget the rest." Forget the rest. I was the rest. I didn't slam her phone down. I didn't leave the room. I didn't cry in the dark. I just looked at her sleeping face and realized something hard and cold had taken root inside me. This wasn't love that had gotten lost. This was abandonment wrapped in routine. And now I had everything I needed. The next morning I made pancakes. Not the box kind, real ones from scratch with almond milk and the cinnamon she always asked for. I even cut the strawberries the way she liked. Thin slices fanned out like some hotel brunch. She came downstairs still half asleep, hair tied up, yawning, wrapped in that same robe that had started to look like a costume. She stopped in the kitchen, eyes narrowing like the smell offended her. "You're up early," she said, not a smile in sight. I slid a plate toward her. "Thought I'd surprise you." She gave a short, suspicious laugh. "Since when do you make breakfast?" I leaned on the counter. Just felt like doing something nice. She sat, chewed in silence for a while. Didn't even compliment the food. I watched her fingers drum against the table. A nervous tick she never had before all this. She was calculating something, trying to measure what I knew. But I wasn't giving her anything. And that, more than rage, more than crying, is what unsettled her. "You're being really chill lately," she said, not looking up. I nodded slowly. "Yeah, I'm done chasing you." She finally looked at me, confusion splashing across her face. "What's that supposed to mean?" I smiled. Not sweetly, not cruelly, just honestly. "It means I've stopped asking where you go, stopped wondering why you lie, stopped needing you to tell the truth." For a moment, her expression faltered, just for a breath. Then she snapped back. "You're being dramatic again." I laughed under my breath. "You keep saying that, like it makes what's happening less real." She stood up, plate half full. "I don't know what version of me you're inventing in your head, but it's getting old." I stepped around the counter, voice still even. "You want to talk about invented versions? How about C?" That stopped her cold. She blinked. "What? C?" I repeated. "The guy you tell you're thinking about when I'm asleep in the next room." Her eyes went wide. For a heartbeat I saw it. The raw, exposed flicker of fear. And then mask on. "You went through my phone? You left it open." I just read what was already screaming at me. She crossed her arms. "You're invading my privacy." I laughed again, and this time it was sharp. "You've been invading our life." She threw her hands up. "So now what? You're the victim? You're perfect and I'm the villain? You haven't exactly been a prize, you know?" That's when it shifted. Because I wasn't expecting an apology anymore. I was watching a performance. A desperate scramble to keep control of a story that was slipping away. She wasn't sorry. She was mad she got caught. "You cheated," I said calmly. "You lied. Repeatedly. You used our home like a motel and our trust like a doormat." She turned to leave. Typical move. Shut it down, pretend the conversation's beneath her. But I wasn't done. I saw the pictures. The hotel rooms. The folder. Good times. She froze mid-step. Her shoulders tensed. "I also know you told him you wanted to stay with him and forget the rest." She turned slowly, and for the first time in weeks, her eyes didn't hold contempt. They held nothing. She looked at me like a stranger. "What do you want me to say?" I didn't answer. She scoffed. "You're not leaving, are you? You're just going to hang this over me forever. Make me pay for it every time I breathe wrong." "I'm not staying to punish you," I said. "I'm staying long enough to finish this my way." She narrowed her eyes. "Finish what?" I picked up my coffee. Took a slow sip. "You'll see." She didn't sleep at home that night. No excuses, no explanations. Just a vague, flat text around 9:42 p.m. "Staying at Lana's. Don't wait up." Lana, of course, lived in Chicago now. She wasn't even trying anymore. And I wasn't reacting. Not the way she wanted, anyway. "No, where are you really?" No calls. I didn't even text back. She was baiting me, hoping I'd explode so she could wear the victim's cloak and wrap herself in the comfort of her own illusion. But I was finished feeding the theater. Instead, I opened my notes and wrote down every single thing I wanted from her. Not emotionally, materially. What was mine? What she owed? What she touched that I needed back or gone? I made a spreadsheet. Labeled columns. Everything from shared accounts to the cast iron skillet we got from her aunt that she hadn't touched in 2 years. I wasn't petty, I was precise. The next morning, she walked in like nothing had shifted. No overnight bag, no explanation. Just the same brittle confidence she always wore when she thought she had the upper hand. "Did you eat?" she asked, as if we were still in some domestic loop. I'm good, I said, not looking up from my laptop. She hovered in the kitchen for a moment, then opened the fridge, closed it again, stood there like an actor waiting for a cue. You're seriously going to keep being weird? She asked finally. I closed the laptop and turned to her. I'm meeting with a lawyer tomorrow. She blinked, then tilted her head, smirking. A lawyer? You think this is that serious? It already was, I said. You just didn't notice. She crossed her arms. So what? You're divorcing me because I made a mistake? No, I said. I'm divorcing you because you made a choice. Over and over. With clarity. With effort. You're blowing this out of proportion. She snapped, voice cracking just slightly. Everyone messes up. You don't just nuke a whole marriage because of one thing. I laughed, low and controlled. One thing? Do you even hear yourself? She started pacing, like a shark sniffing its own blood. You know what? She said, louder now. I never even felt like you saw me anymore. All you ever do is work, fix things, make lists. You're a checklist husband. And you're a checklist liar, I replied. You ticked off every box. Deceit, gaslighting, emotional detachment, infidelity. Congratulations. You win. Don't you dare talk to me like I'm garbage. She spat. You think this is all my fault? I stood up, slowly, deliberately, walked toward her not to threaten, but to show her I wasn't backing down anymore. Do you remember that time we went to the cabin? The one where you said you'd never felt more loved. She blinked fast, said nothing. You were already cheating on me. She opened her mouth, closed it. I stepped past her, picked up the envelope on the table, slid it toward her. List of assets. I want it clean. No games. We're not playing house anymore. She stared at the envelope like it was a bomb with her name on it. You're really doing this? She asked, voice quieter now, hollow. I already did, I said. This is just the part where you catch up. She sat down slowly, as if her legs finally registered the weight of it all. But I didn't stay to watch her unravel. I walked out, because I had somewhere to be, and I wasn't coming back empty-handed. I drove 2 hours out of the city. No music, no distractions, just the low hum of tires eating pavement and my thoughts screaming louder than any playlist could cover. I was going to see someone I hadn't spoken to in a year, not because of bad blood, but because life has this way of sanding people out of your orbit when you're too busy pretending you're happy. His name was Ryan, old friend from college, the kind of guy who could read a room like it was a script and always knew when to disappear before a fight started. We drifted apart, mostly because I stopped answering his questions. He always asked the right ones. When I called him the night before, I didn't explain much. Just said, I need a place to crash and a box to unpack. He told me to come early, and he didn't ask what was inside the box. His place was a small workshop behind his actual house, half studio, half time capsule. Smelled like wood and oil and the last breath of freedom. When I got there, he opened the door with coffee already made and said, Tell me when you're ready. I wasn't, but I sat anyway. I told him everything. From the belt under the bed to the smoothie photo. From the way she smiled through the lies to the way I stopped needing her to explain. He didn't interrupt once. Just sat there, arms crossed, nodding every now and then like someone listening to a confession they already saw coming. When I finished, he said something that stuck in me like a nail in the floorboard. She doesn't think you'll go through with it. That's why she's calm. I blinked. What? She thinks you'll rage a little, play tough, but then fold. Because you've always been the fixer. That's your role. That's the box she put you in. He was right. She didn't see me as a man anymore. I was a function, a system, a routine that folded laundry and paid bills and absorbed damage without pushing back. Until now. Ryan walked over to a cabinet and pulled out a small locked case. Popped it open. Inside a hard drive. He handed it to me. This is for insurance. I didn't ask what was on it. I just took it. Because I knew what it meant. Back at the house that night, she was waiting. Hair down. No robe, just a sweatshirt and leggings. Looking disheveled in that calculated way. You've been gone all day, she said as I stepped inside. Yeah, I said, tying up loose ends. She followed me into the living room, hovering like smoke. Are you seriously going to ruin both our lives over one mistake? I dropped my keys on the table, turned to her. It wasn't one mistake. It was a campaign. She opened her mouth, but I cut her off. And you didn't even cover your tracks well. Which tells me you didn't care if I found out. Maybe you wanted me to. Her face tightened. You think this is easy for me? You made it look easy, I said. You made lies look like water. You swam in them. She walked closer, eyes blazing. You don't get to play saint. You've been gone for months. Distant. Cold. I was busy working for us, I said. You were busy working against us. Silence. Then she snapped. Not yelling. Just a hiss of venom, low and sharp. You're not as innocent as you think. You pushed me away. No, I said. I just stopped chasing someone who was already running. And then I saw it, that flicker of something ugly and helpless behind her eyes. Not guilt. Not sadness. Fear. Not of me. Of losing control. You think you'll find better? She asked, voice suddenly soft. Someone who puts up with your moods? Your need to always fix things. I don't need better, I said. I just need real. I walked upstairs without looking back. That night I didn't sleep in our bed. I didn't sleep at all. But I felt more awake than I had in months. The house felt different the next morning. Not emptier, sharper. Like it had been holding its breath for too long and finally exhaled. She was downstairs when I came down, sitting on the couch with her knees pulled up and a mug in her hands, pretending to be small. But it was the same act, the same performance, like grief she'd rented by the hour. She looked up as I entered, eyes red but dry. I didn't sleep, she said softly, like it meant something now. Me neither, I said, walking past her. She followed. Of course she did. You don't have to do this, she said. We can fix it. I'll go to therapy. We'll go to therapy. I turned. Slowly. Calmly. Are you offering that because you mean it? Or because I finally stopped letting you drag me through your mess? She looked like she might answer. But she didn't. I continued. You didn't come to me with regret. You came with excuses. You made me the cause of your betrayal. Like I held your hand while you sent the messages. Like I booked the rooms. I was lost, she said. I didn't feel like I mattered to you anymore. That's not why you did it, I replied. That's just the line you practiced in case I found out. She stood there, breathing shallow, trying to summon another version of herself that I might believe in. I didn't. I've talked to a lawyer, I said. It's moving forward. I want this clean, and I want it quiet. Her lips parted. You're just giving up? No, I said. I'm finally choosing myself. Then I handed her the envelope. Inside was the final document, the asset list, the division plan, the notarized first step. All she had to do was sign. Her hands trembled slightly as she held it, and I watched her face twitch through the stages of denial, bargaining, realization. You really don't love me anymore? She asked. I looked her dead in the eyes. I don't even know who you are anymore. Silence sat between us like a loaded weapon. And then she snapped. Fine. You want to be done? Be done. But don't come crawling back when you realize how boring the world is without someone like me. I smiled, tired, worn, but real. I'd rather be bored than humiliated. She stormed upstairs. Door slammed. Classic. But I didn't flinch. Instead, I picked up my phone and sent one text to Ryan. It's happening. You were right. Then I sat in the kitchen, alone, letting the stillness settle around me. And for the first time in months, maybe longer, I felt peace inch into the corners of the room. Not because she was leaving, but because I was 0.3 days past. 3 long, surreal, almost cinematic days. She didn't leave the house, but she barely spoke to me. The silence between us had shifted into a different form now. Something heavier, something final. She still walked around like the place belonged to her, still used the good wine glasses, still played her music too loud. But every move she made was laced with something else now. Fear. The fear of someone who thought they were irreplaceable and had finally seen proof otherwise. She hadn't signed the papers yet. Of course not. That would mean surrender. That would mean accepting that the story she wrote, about being untouchable, desirable, necessary, was ending without her final word. On the 4th morning, I came downstairs and saw her standing by the dining table, staring at the documents, not touching them, just hovering, like she was hoping they'd burst into flames before she had to admit they were real. You're stalling, I said without even looking at her. I'm thinking, she snapped. No, you're calculating, I replied. And there's nothing left to count. She turned slowly. I saw something flash in her eyes. Not sadness, not guilt. Strategy. You think you're winning something? She asked. I stepped closer, voice low. No, I think I stopped losing. She scoffed. You think walking away makes you strong? It just makes you another quitter. I leaned in. You mocked me like I was a joke in front of your friends. Laughed like I didn't even exist. But when I stopped chasing, stopped caring, the silence hit you louder than any scream. And now you watch me rise, and I'm not even looking back. That shut her up. She looked like she wanted to scream, to throw something, to cry. But nothing came. Just this blank, desperate stare like she didn't recognize who she was without control. I walked past her, picked up the folder, and calmly set it back down with a pen. Last chance. After today, my attorney files it without you. And trust me, without me guiding this, it won't be clean. She didn't move, so I left. I drove to Ryan's again. And this time I brought everything. Old clothes, laptop, documents, the entire history of a life that I was no longer willing to drag forward. He didn't say much. Just opened the door, helped me carry the bags, and handed me a cold beer like it was medicine. We sat in silence for a while. Not the tense kind, the good kind. Then he said, She signed, didn't she? I shook my head. Not yet, but she will. He nodded. You sure you don't want revenge? I looked out the window. No, I said. I want peace. And I want her to live every day knowing I gave it to myself. Because that's what burned her the most. Not the confrontation, not the evidence, not the ending, but the fact that I let go before she could say I wasn't enough. She signed the papers on a Tuesday. No ceremony, no apology, just a cold signature scrawled in blue ink, folded, and left on the kitchen counter next to an empty glass of wine. No note, not even my name on the envelope, just a dead weight gesture, like someone turning off the lights as they walk out of a house they burned down. I found it when I came back from Ryan's, after finalizing the bank transitions and collecting the last few mail forwarding documents. The signature wasn't even neat. It was rushed, slanted, bitter. She had tried to stain the ending with resentment, but it didn't land. Not this time. I picked it up, held it in my hands, and smiled to myself. Not out of victory, there was no winner here. Just relief. Deep, clean, unshakable relief. Later that evening, I came home one last time. She was sitting on the couch in sweatpants, hair undone, no makeup, just raw and silent, the most human I'd seen her in months. The TV was on but muted, static in motion. She didn't look at me when I came in. You got what you wanted, she said, voice hollow. No, I replied. You got what you caused. Silence. Then, do you really hate me? I paused at that, not because I didn't have an answer, but because she still believed that hate was the worst thing I could feel. I don't hate you, I said quietly. You're just someone I used to believe in. Her lip trembled, but she didn't speak. I walked to the doorway, turned back once, and looked at her. Not the version I'd loved, not the lie she'd sold me, but the person she really was. I hope you find something real, I said, and I hope you don't destroy it. And then I left. That was 3 months ago. I'm living in a quiet rental now, near the edge of town. Small place, 2 bedrooms, one of which I turned into a studio where I've started painting again. Something I gave up during the marriage. Ryan visits. Margot checks in weekly. I cook for myself. I sleep through the night. Sometimes I think about the version of her that could have loved me honestly. But then I remember the moment she laughed in front of her friends. Like I was the punchline to a joke no one else understood. The moment I saw her texts, written so casually, so cruelly, like I didn't even breathe in her world. That's what betrayal is. It's not the affair. It's not the lies. It's the way they erase you before they leave. Like you never mattered. But I matter now. I don't look back. She watches me rise, and I know it, because she hasn't blocked me. She sees the peace, the smile, the rebuild, and that's louder than any scream.